Hey everyone, so real quick, I recently became a partner in the Content Creator Program. So if you want to support me, I'll leave this link below. You go down to the search bar and you type in ZEP YT, ZEP YouTube, and click the support button. If you do this, if I get to 30 supporters, I'll be able to give out codes to my supporters, and I also get a small percentage back of what you guys spend in game for points to use in the game to be a little more inefficient with my time and energy to get you more valuable content. So if you want to do that, I'd really appreciate it. But anyway, back to the video. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another King Arthur Legends Rise video. So in today's video, guys, we're going to be going over the best heroes in the Sealed Temple Master of Death dungeon. This dungeon is very important as it drops talismans, which are the item that you need to upgrade heroes' passive abilities. If you get these abilities, leveled up, it just turns your heroes into a whole different animal, okay? So this dungeon is very important, and it's important to understand this dungeon. So what we're actually going to do is I'm going to do a run for you guys first. We're going to do a run. We're going to walk through the boss's skills, all of those things, and then we're going to talk about the best heroes, but I think it's important to understand the boss's mechanics. But the reason why we are actually doing this first is because some of the things that you need to watch out for actually aren't located in this boss's information on the monster information tab. But this boss, high level overview, he puts debuffs, he puts some DOTs, and then he has a lot of abnormal status. He has 2 appendages per wave. So he has 1 wave that gets the right leg and the left leg on the first wave boss. And then the second wave boss has tendrils first. And then once you get him below 50%, he then develops these arms. These arms actually do a pretty good amount of damage. And then they also do abnormal status instead of just doing a regular debuff like the tendrils. The tendrils are pretty easy and light hitting, whereas the arms are actually kind of a problem. Boss, same thing here, does a lot of abnormal status, and then he also does a little bit of damage over time. Okay, so without further ado, we're going to go in and we're going to do a run. And then we're going to talk about some things, and we'll walk through why we have the characters we do. I'll run through replacements. We'll talk about other teams that could possibly do this, but I just wanted to give you a quick rundown first. All right. So the first thing you'll notice is this boss, and this is only on higher stages. I don't believe on the lower stages he has this, but he has damage immunity. So the main boss has damage immunity, but his left leg and his right leg do not. Whenever you kill these legs, you will actually do 15% max HP health to this boss. The other thing you'll notice about the boss is he does not have any resistance to damage over time effects. So here's like Rosalie, here's like Anguish, people that put up DOTs are going to be good against this first stage boss. The other one does have immunity to it, so I wouldn't base it around that. Okay, so we have Morgan in here. She's amplifying that damage, right? We want to take out these legs as fast as we can to deal damage to the main boss and then take away his damage immunity. So we're going to try and land a debuff on the legs here, which we did, which is very nice. We have our main damage dealer here, which is Rosalie, or Rosier. I always call her Rosalie. Rosier. You can use Bedivere, you can use K, but we'll talk about why I'm using Rosier. She obviously does a lot of really great damage, but there's some other things that you want to watch out for. So here's the boss. So as you see, the boss, one of his main attacks is he puts up stun. So this is an abnormal status. Sadly, he targeted Argillian, so her passive can't trigger to remove it from the other characters, and she didn't resist it. So this other leg also does status. That's why it's really important to kill these legs, because if you don't kill them fast enough, this can certainly spiral out of hand. So we killed the leg, and you saw that his damage dipped below 15%. So he's kind of like on a cooldown right now. When he's in this stage, you can actually control his attack gauge. So if you have heroes like Morgan or Jillian that reduce attack gauge, you can actually get a lot of hits in here and do a lot of damage. Because remember, he does not have resistance to DOT. So Jillian on her attack 2 has a chance to reduce the attack gauge. So we'll see if we can do it. Okay, got lucky. And that's how we just keep the boss's meter down to get in as much damage as we can with Rosier before he pops back up. Because whenever he actually regenerates, he's going to put up a shield on himself. So just doing a bunch of these attacks here, trying to reduce his attack gauge to just give us as many attacks as possible. Crank out the damage to try and get on to the next stage. I think this is pretty elementary. You know, there's a lot of bosses like this in the game where all you do is try and control their attack gauge so they never even get a turn. Like the bosses that don't allow for the attack gauge decrease tend to be a bit harder just because it's not as straightforward. You can't really cheese it. So all the bleeds did some really good damage, but you see when he pops back up, he actually gets a shield that has like 60 hits on it. So then you just want to go for the other leg. Avoid all the stuns, abnormal status, all of those things. This fight is very straightforward. But the second fight is where things get way more difficult. The boss does a lot more damage, a lot more abnormal status. You know, you're losing turns, all of those things. But I'm trying to see if this boss is eventually going to do one of the attacks that I want to mention, because it's something you need to watch out for that is not talked about in his monster profile. I don't know if we'll get to it or not because we're doing some pretty good damage to him. Got lots of dots. And here, same thing. We're just controlling the attack meter, getting in as many attacks as we can. We're trying to speed this up so we're not doing it the best way that we possibly can, because I would just be using Morgan's A2, getting all those attack meters, but these DOTs are going to be close to killing them. And one more shield. And this is where he'll actually charge up something called a charge meter. Okay, so this is the thing that they don't show, right? If you go to this, it says a charge attack gets interrupted by 7 total hits. So you need a multi-hitter. This is why I think Rosier is better than someone like Bedivere. Bedivere only has a 1-hitter. He does have 2 additional hits on his passive ability. And then he has a 2-hitter on his skill 3. But Rosier has a 5-hitter on her skill 3 that hits also very hard. But heroes like Kay have multi-hits as well. So if you don't have like a Rosier built up like me, that's okay. So that's 1 hit from Morgan. So we need 6 more hits. Rosier has a 5-hitter. So we're going to go in and hit him. So this actually is extremely unfortunate, but because this meter didn't go up, that means that she missed some of her hits. So the hit accuracy actually matters here. Thankfully, we have heroes like Jillian and Morgan that can push back the attack gauge to give Rosier another shot, but Morgan also has a 3-hitter, which is probably going to get rid of this meter anyway. But if you get enough hits on him, this goes away and he won't do a very high damage scaling ability. I think a lot of people probably fail because they don't understand how to break that shield. I was one of them. The next wave boss also has a similar thing going on with him as well. So that's the key that I was missing. I was like, man, why does my team get wiped sometimes and other times they don't? It's because I was bringing in heroes that did multi-hits. So this boss is probably going to die from the DOTs now. He's going to lose his shield. All right, so we get 1 more. So as you see here, if you get to this stage, sometimes he puts up these attack speed debuffs, it's not going to matter because the DOTs are going to kill him. But if you want to bring in someone like Sarah to remove the debuffs, you can. She's just going to be really great for healing on the next stage anyway, because the boss does a lot more damage. Okay, so on to wave 2, and this is the tough one. So this boss, it's almost just like the first wave, right? He's going to be putting up the abnormal status. He's going to be putting up, 1 DOT, which is chill, which slows your guys down and then also does damage. And then he has this unique effect called that Ceranos Curse, which does damage to you over time. That I think the only way to get rid of it is to resist it. It's not considered an abnormal status. It's not considered a debuff, and it's not considered a DOT. So, yeah, there's no real way to actually get around it. But the trick to this boss, the main boss cannot have his attack meter decreased, all right? But the limbs can. You always want to try and kill these limbs as fast as possible. And then whenever he's below 50%, he regrows arms. The arms are down here, and they just hit way worse than the tendrils. Once the boss gets below 50% is where things get difficult. So I think it's really nice to have 2 types of healers or 2 support heroes. I talked about Jack. He brings the shield, which is a type of healing, I guess, just because it gives you time to heal back up with a healer like Sarah or something. But yeah, see, the tendrils themselves also do abnormal status, and having your healer stunned is a real problem. So the quicker that you kill these things, the much easier this fight gets. So we're just going to keep healing our guys, try and take out the tendrils as fast as we can. So here's more abnormal status, so fear. But we had overhealing from Jillian, which got rid of it. So if I had Jack would have removed that from Sarah and then gave her a shield. So Jack would have worked perfectly there as well. So slowly chipping away at the tendrils. I think this fight is more time consuming than it is hard. The second stage after he drops below 50% is surely more difficult, just because he does more damage, and if you miss 1 or 2 turns, things can really spiral. All right, so the boss is about to go. All right, so now the boss has another similar attack gauge, just like his first form, except this one is 8 total hits, at least at this stage. Whenever you see that yellow symbol, whatever stage you're on, you have to go in here and see how many total hits that he will have. All right, so we need 8 hits. So I'm going to make this a little bit slower. So Rosier, if she gets all 5 of her hits, it's going to take care of most of the attack gauge. So I think we had 2 misses in there, actually. So she only got 3 hits. Oh, and I sadly put this on auto. So the reason why this one is a little bit more difficult is because you can't reduce the target's attack gauge. So on the prior boss, if you missed, like I did with Rosier, then you still had a chance to loop back around her to do her 5 hitter. But with this boss, you can't. So you really just want to have the highest amount of hits. So this one does 2 hits, so we're going to try and do this because Morgan missed, and so did Jillian. So actually, this is going to be a great example. So this is all you really need to know about this boss, but I'm actually going to wipe here. I'm pretty sure he's going to kill one of my guys because I couldn't break this. So he uses this devastation. Okay, so thankfully, no one died. Devastation ends up doing a lot more damage if you have an effect on you. Oh, yeah. So if I had this Ceranos Curse, whoever had that on them would have died. No one's been inflicted with it yet, so that was great. But I'm really glad that they showed that, because if you don't break that charge meter, that's why you're wiping. So you need to bring in the total amount of hits needed. And if you want to avoid the misses, the higher amount of hit accuracy you have on your heroes is going to help, your percentage of passing this boss, of completing this boss. So we're just powering through here. We're going to kill this tendril. And once we do, we'll slowly get this boss below 50%. And then you'll see where the real fight begins with his arms. So we're just healing up here. Recharging all of our vigor. Jillian actually sometimes can screw up your run because she charges people's attack gauge. I don't know if anyone caught it, but Rosier was actually behind Morgan, so she would have done a lot more damage because Morgan put up her debuffs, but sadly the attack gauge boosted Rosier. So more abnormal status here. Thankfully, both of his tendrils are gone, so we have time to recharge here. The DOTs do way less on this boss on the second stage because he does have the DOT reduction. I mentioned that multiple times, but I just want to keep reiterating it. So, yep, we're slowly chipping this guy away. So he tried to put up at normal status here. It's like a 50-50 chance. The only other way to get rid of that, if you don't have overhealing with Jillian or Jack, is you can build very high effect resistance heroes to resist that, and we'll kind of talk about that when we talk about the best heroes right after this run. So this is going to be a little longer video. If you guys want to, fast forward to where I just go over the heroes, be my guest. But it is very important to understand the mechanics of the boss. So we're back here again with his charge meter. 8 total hits again needed. 2 hitter, both of them landed, which is nice. We'll do 1 hit with Sarah, also landed, which is nice. Let's see if Rosier can finish him off. Okay, so she had 1 miss. So now Morgan just needs 1 or 2 hits. Okay, so we broke it that time, right? So now the boss didn't get to go. So that was very good. Okay, so now he's going to drop below 50% most likely. Yep. And now he will regrow his arms right after we land this next hit. Okay, so he gets below 50%. These arms hit way harder than the tendrils, all right? You really want to keep them controlled. You can also abnormal status them, as you saw with Morgan. So if you want to put them to sleep or stun them or whatever, you can. The thing is some of these arms, like the left arm, so when the left arm dies, he puts up defense decrease on the boss and then the right arm. So if you kill the left arm first, the right arm will be much easier to kill. Where if you kill the right arm, it's just an attack decrease. So you'll take less damage, but I think the left arm is the better arm to kill. So you always want to target the left arm first, in my opinion. It will just, like I said, make that right arm way easier to kill. So you have less things to kind of worry about. This might also help you just complete your run. So these attacks that he's doing, he's trying to land abnormal status, but thankfully it's just not working. So attack gauge decreases work on the arms, just not on the boss. Same thing with the tendrils. So one of these arms might get to go. Yep. So thankfully we had Jillian in there to remove the stun from Sarah. We're buffing up with the defense up and some heals because the boss is about to go. Trying to reduce the attack gauge of the right arm. Sadly, we missed. And if you're missing stuff like that, the whole reason is because you don't have enough effect accuracy. So he got an abnormal status. That's one of the things that the arms do. Very annoying. That's why multiple healers is probably a good thing if you have the luxury. All right, so we're finally going to kill this left arm, which will then put the defense decrease up on the right arm. So now that's going to be way easier to kill now too. So if you get to this point where you kill the left arm with a decent amount of life left, you're probably safe. Because you have things doing less damage. Once you kill one of these arms, the boss also heals you from time to time, which is another important mechanic. So yeah, I don't think there's anything else we really need to go over. So I think from this point on, I covered everything: abnormal status, the charge meter from the boss, and then trying to really kill these limbs as fast as you possibly can, because if not, you could wipe. So one of the issues with all of this abnormal status that's going on is if the boss ever goes back up into his charge meter again, we might fail to actually activate our effects, which then brings that huge nuke back in, this devastation move. See, he keeps landing all of these abnormal status effects. So if you don't have enough removal of those abilities, you don't get to use your best effects, you don't get to heal up, and then you eventually wipe. So yeah, this is that's why it's so important to have the right amount of team synergy. So we really need to kill this right arm. All right, so things got way easier because now the boss is doing less damage as well. So here, now we're most likely in the clear. Unless we get unlucky with some random abnormal status, this should be, in the bag. So I will fast forward through this and we'll talk about the best possible heroes. So I'll see you when this fight is over. All right, so fight done. Okay, we got 6 Steed legendaries, which is pretty nice. And then we got 8 of the Stag rares. And then we got some uncommons. The commons, I can't believe that they still have these at this stage. I'm hoping in future updates you can alchemy these to actually turn into rare or legendary talismans. That'd be such a great quality of life thing. But yeah. Okay, so now you understand the mechanics of this boss, right? Let's talk about team compositions. Let's talk about heroes that you really want to watch out for. So the first thing that you're going to really pay attention to is abnormal status. This is something that can just completely wreck your team. So abnormal status immunity. You have a couple options here. You don't have a whole lot in regards to consistent immunity, but there are some of those options. Guinevere gives it to you early, not very consistent, okay? She just gets it on her first passive, but the more she gets hit, it gets taken away. This isn't something that you can really bank on. Aine does have it on her first skill. If you have her Fire Relic, you actually have a guaranteed removal on her second ability. She is top tier, but you need her Fire Relic. Very unlikely for people to have. Bodwin. Bodwin does have the ability to actually remove it on his skill 3, but he needs to be Chivalry 8. He activates this Divine Light, where he removes all debuffs, abnormal status, and DOTs on everyone when he uses his skill 3. But if you see here, it's actually a cooldown of 5 turns. So it's slightly better than a unskilled Jillian, but you still have a lot of things that you kind of have to watch out for. So he does have this World Tree's Favor passive, but it's only at the start of the battle. This is more so for Crom Crouch, but we'll talk about that in a bit. Lot. I forget where Lot has abnormal status removal. Yes, I'm not quite sure where he has this. Oh, so he grants immunity, actually, on his skill 3. So this is something that could possibly work. Yeah, I don't know. I've never built Lot, but I guess in theory, having abnormal status immunity up every turn, he would have to go last in the turn order. It's a possibility. So that's abnormal status immunity. That's a very hard skill to come by. Now, you do have Dispel abnormal status, and that's where Jack and Jillian come in. So Jillian has it on her passive. I don't know why it's not on here. I think it's because it's considered overheal. But Jack has it on his passive here, which you can skill down to 4 turns. And since he's an uncommon, this is going to be much easier for you to skill up that passive. So Jack is going to be absolutely key if you do not have Jillian. I think he is the second best option for sure. Unless you have Ain's Fire Relic, then she's better than Jack because she just brings a whole bunch of other things. Clementine does have the capability of doing it if you have, is it her Frost Relic? No, it's her Wind Relic. So on her Wind Relic, she has a 55% chance to remove abnormal status from each ally. So this is a good skill. It's just inconsistent. The other thing is Clementine is an attack gauge reducer. On her passive, her skill 2 is actually quite good, but it's random. And as we saw on the second stage of the boss, the attack meter of the main boss can't be reduced. Now, you could get lucky and reduce either the tendrils or the arms. I don't know. It's something that you could think about. She also has attack gauge reduction and an AoE on her second passive that would be good for the arms and the tendrils on the second stage. So it could be a possibility. If you have her Storm Relic, it probably makes sense because you also bring the abnormal status with a heal. So this is a great slot in as well if you're able to have that Wind Relic. So that is all of the abnormal status, right? You got Clementine with the Storm Relic. You have Bodwin if he has Chivalry 8. And then you have Jack, which is obviously the easiest to get. And then Ain and Jillian. Jillian is fantastic because of the overhealing. So whoever else has overhealing, let's see. Yeah, so I think these are specific overheals. This one is only for Mark, right? I think it's on skill 2. Nope, skill 3. Triggers overhealing for Mark, removes all marks. Yep, so that's not an option. And then this one, I forget. So this is an option, but I think this is single use. So possibility here, but I still think you're better off with Jack as abnormal status and then just bring in a healer like Sarah to kind of take care of the abnormal status. If you have Jillian, she fills 2 roles. So that is abnormal status, right? Healers. This is very straightforward. If you have Jillian, like I said, fills 2 roles. Sarah, absolutely great. Defense up, as well as a big heal on her skill 3 for her Storm Relic. You have Clementine for the heals, as well as the abnormal status removal if you have her Storm Relic. One of the best in slots, I think, is actually Turin. Turin just continues to be amazing. Her Storm Relic also has great functionality in the fact that it puts up 2 relevant debuffs on her skill 2. Oh, sorry, it is her Fire Relic. Her Fire Relic has effect resistance and evasion rate. So you can possibly dodge attacks. You can also put up effect resistance to resist the abnormal status, while she also brings recovery over time. Her third skill actually does not give you anything great. It's just an attack, but it is a triple hitter, which is one of the other things with reducing the charge gauge. On the Storm Relic, though, you do get effect resistance 2 and attack speed increase on her third skill. It is only 70% chance, so that's something to watch out for, but it is 100% chance to have a big heal. So Turin, I think, is absolutely amazing as your healer. She also has it Night and Rain, which is the same exact thing. She gets benefit from there. So does someone like Morgan and Rosier. So you're increasing their speed, their damage, and their damage taken is reduced if you bring in Turin with these other two people. So Isolde, I think, is okay in this slot as a healer. On her second ability, she puts recovery over time, and she heals for a small amount. So you're kind of getting like a double dip of heal. Also on her passives, she removes DOT. The second stage of that boss puts up the 1 DOT, which does matter. Any kind of survivability where you're not taking percentage of your health away and slowing your team down, I think is a huge deal. And then also the damage taken decrease, I think, is good too. So I think she's okay in this slot, but since most people have Turin, I think Turin is going to be way better. The other thing is because it is night and raining, you don't need Turin Chivalry 1 to change it to Night and Rain. You can just use her baseline if anybody doesn't have 2 extra copies of her. Because with it being night, she'll still get all of the benefits because it comes baseline like that. That's pretty much it from a healer's perspective. I guess you can use Luke, which everyone gets for free. Luke has a pretty nice big heal on his skill 3, but it is his skill 3. So the skill 3 is something that's going to take a lot of vigor. You might not necessarily want to do that. But I guess we should call him out as an option. Morgan, I think, is irreplaceable. You use Morgan no matter what. It is extremely important for you to land those debuffs on the limbs, the tendrils, the legs, the arms, because you need to kill them fast. Okay, Morgan is your guaranteed shoo-in. So you'll have Morgan, you'll have some kind of abnormal status removal hero, so something like Jack. You'll have a healer, which I said, it can be Turin, Clementine, Sarah, or Isolde. All of these heroes are 100% viable. Turin, again, is probably best in class here. Even with Jack, Jack gets the added benefits of Turin as well. So when it comes to damage dealers, your damage dealers is just anyone you truly want to slot in, but you want to find someone that has a lot of multi-hit attacks. Bedivere can work, especially if you have other heroes within your team that have multi-hits, so you can actually take down the charge bar. Okay? He can work. He hasn't worked for me. It's just because my stats aren't good enough, right? I don't have enough hit accuracy on all of my heroes. So I need as many hits as possible just in case some of those hits miss. So Bedivere can work. Kay is amazing here. A team like this, I wouldn't be surprised can get to Master of Death 10. I honestly wouldn't be surprised. She puts out a lot of really great damage. Her skill 2 is a 4-hitter, which also gives her critical strike up and crit damage. And then on her basic attacks, she has a 5-hitter. So all of these things are just really amazing for this boss. On top of that, if you are using someone else in the stag favor, she also boosts their attack as well as their attack gauge every 3 turns. So she's a really great damage dealer in this case. You have heroes like the new hero, Irit, who has a triple hitter on his highest damage dealing ability. He also has multiple attacks whenever he has certain buffs. Irit is very good in this dungeon. Tristan, no surprise here. He's got a triple hitter on his third attack. He can also put attack speed decrease on any of the limbs. Very, very good. If you do have his Chivalry 1, this passive allows him to attack an additional 4 times every 5 turns. So another great damage dealer. Merlin is also great here. Merlin puts up a great debuff with Frozen Remains, which charges your hero's abilities. This is something that the boss is not immune to. So you can put this up on the boss and have all of your heroes cycle, possibly. Because he doesn't have the attack gauge decrease, if you can boost your own attackers' charge bar, this really helps. And then also, it will grant your teammates damage taken decrease. This is a 4-hitter as well. The only thing to mention is on his skill 2, he does change the weather to day. So if you're using someone like Turin, this completely messes up your whole team. You can't really pair Merlin with Turin, or you're not going to get the type of heals that you want. I think Anguish is an okay option. He's very good against the first stage. His chills can be, I'm pretty sure they can hurt the arms. I want to check that before I say anything here. Sometimes the DOT... Oh, he actually isn't immune to the DOT stuff, but I guess it just doesn't do a whole lot of damage. So yeah, for sure, Anguish can go in that slot. He'll let you beat that first boss really quick, similar to Rosier. Rosier, I mean, you saw how much damage she did. If you have the Fire Relic, this multiplier is just absolutely insane. And then she has the ability to do this cool Hook of Death thing, but she also brings Bleed to help with the first stage of the boss. Other heroes, I think Arthur is perfectly fine. You know, he has one crazy multiplier on his 3rd skill here, but after playing the story mode, you get his Storm Relic, which is better. He puts up attack speed increase and attack increase on all your allies on his 2nd skill, and then he's got a triple hitter on his 3rd skill on the Fire Relic. You can bring in tons of different damage dealers. I think this is such an open case. I think if you have heroes that kind of pair well with Turin, those are going to be your better options. Cormac is great. He has a triple hitter, a 5 times hitter on his skill 3 on his baseline. Everyone loves his Frost Relic. It's not really great here. The AoEs, I guess, can do some decent damage to the limbs, so it's not terrible, but having the 5 hitter might be a little more important, and not everyone has the Frost Relic. Ban, another okay option. A couple different hitters. He's got a triple hitter on his 1 and 2 skill, and then he has an AoE on the 3rd skill that also reduces attack gauge. So these are just the things that you're looking out for. It's more about team composition and filling in those specific roles, more so than use this hero. Okay? So, guys, that's all I have for you. It was a walkthrough talking about some of those heroes that you can certainly use, fill in these gaps to try and take down this boss. I think the most important thing is really understanding that charge meter. That was something that I neglected for a really long time, and I just couldn't figure it out. So, that is all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.